Welcome to Planning Ahead with CMS. This next series will focus on the planning use classes, which have seen a lot of change in recent years. In this episode, we'll provide a high-level overview of the post-2020 use classes in England. In the next two episodes, we'll look in more detail at the Scottish system, which has also recently changed, and the ever-evolving permitted development rights regime. So, planning permission is required for any development of land, which includes operations affecting land, and material change of use. So, when considering changes in the use of land, the Town and Country Planning Use Classes Order puts uses of land and building into categories known as use classes. But from the 1st of September 2020 in England, some of these use classes in England were amended. Now, it's important that Section 55 of the Planning Act confirms that any change of use within the same use class is not development which requires planning permission. So, before the 1st of September 2020, there were 5 main categories of uses in England. Class A, shops and other retail. Class B, offices, factories, workshops. Class C, residential. And D, non-residential institutions such as leisure centres and schools. And then finally there's sui generis, which means on its own. And stuff which falls within the sui generis use class cannot change to any other use whatsoever without obtaining planning permission. So after the 1st of September 2020, the use classes order was overhauled and classes A, retail, and D, institutions, were revoked and replaced with classes E, F1 and F2, and in some cases things were moved to sui generis. This means that there are now 4 categories. Class B, general industrial, but this now doesn't include offices. Class E, commercial, things that can happen on the high street, which importantly now does include offices. And Class F1, learning and non-residential institutions. Class F2, local and community uses. This is all together with an expanded sui generis use class, and the existing Class C, resi, remains the same. Existing buildings that were already in use for Class A uses and Class B1 are therefore now fall within Class E, unless conditions apply to the planning permission which prevent changing to other uses. So what about this new Class E then? The changes to the use classes system are radical. Class E is very broad, having been designed to reinvigorate tired high streets that have high vacancy rates after COVID. It also creates lots of flexibility for landlords who might wish to rent their premises for different purposes. A Class E unit will now be able to change between shops, offices, restaurants, cafes, clinics, creches, banks and offices without the requirement to secure additional planning permission. Local planning authorities, on the other hand, are finding this new use class more difficult to regulate, and as a consequence are imposing conditions to limit the flexibility in practice, such as adding conditions to planning permissions and Section 106 obligations. Now, I mentioned earlier that the sui generis use has also been expanded. This means that some uses which previously had their own use class, such as pubs and takeaways, will from now on belong to a specific use class which prevents change of use. Unless you get planning permission first, that is. Now, Class D1 and Class D2 have also changed. Some of these uses have transferred to Class E, but this is only where they principally provide services to visiting members of the public, and the premises are used for indoor sport and recreation, fitness, medical or health services or a creche. If the service is not principally provided for members of the public, this might point towards the use not moving to Class E. It could then be within Class F or even sui generis, which will have a massive impact on flexibility. For more information on the use classes regime in England, please feel free to get in touch with one of our team members or review our Detailed Law Now series, which is linked in with this episode.